So when we treat this bamboo, first of all, we age grade the bamboo, which means that it has certain inherent strength at the level of harvesting process. Then, so typically the bamboo you see in market is a year old. What you see for scaffold, these are 4 to 5 year old. Okay, so it has reached the level of strength that it requires. After that, even if you don't harvest it, it will start to decompose on ground. So it has reached this time stamp. Then we do a process where the moisture is reduced normally under sun drying conditions and brought to about 12 to 15%. Then the treatment that is there is one of the most effective treatments in the world. It's called CCB under a vacuum and pressure conditions. So you create a vacuum, 3.5 bar pressure, high pressure, almost 35-meter height, that kind of a pressure. Open up the pores and flush in the preservative inside. And in this preservative, there's a locking agent. One of the chemicals is a locking agent. So what happens? The aspects of termite, borer, and other things that you mentioned happen because there's a lot of fat and food inside. When you treat bamboo like this, there is no food inside for insect that remains. And because you lock that chemical, that effectiveness of treatment is for more than 30 years. So I'm not saying this is the MOEF saying the method of treatment that I spoke to you about is as per IS code 9096/2006, and it is they who have said this. So this particular bamboo species, there are 136 species in the country. This species that you see here have been procured within 50 kilometers of our factory, which is on the border of Maharashtra and Goa in a place called Kudal. So we have a net zero factory built there, which is also built in bamboo, runs on solar completely, and makes these components. These are all components made in factory into the shape that it has to be here, and then finally fixed at site and then erected. That's how it is. So in India, there is 99% of bamboo which is white, which is absolutely useless from the perspective of construction. It may be useful for other purposes. Why? Because when bamboo becomes very thorny, it becomes very difficult to harvest. And also it becomes crooked. Wherever you find the nodes coming out, those places it has a tendency to bulge out. These are, so in this district of Sindhudurg, the seed of thought was laid by Honorable Minister Suresh Prabhuji when he was the Ministry for Environment and Forest. And that is the time when India signed a treaty with INBAR, International Network for Bamboo and Rattan, which is the apex body of intergovernmental body under IFAD based out of China. So India as a country signed the treaty, and INBAR did their first project in Kuda. What was that project was? To look at what species of bamboo would grow here and would be of commercial importance, resilient to this climate, and useful for the farmers. So what started off as a journey, first year 15-20 farmers, today after 20 years is 9,500 farmers who grow bamboo along with mango and cashew. And this Ratnagiri hafus is world famous hafus. So they grow along with their mango and cashew this bamboo. So, there are few bamboo that grow by seeds, and the flowering is when you get the seed for bamboo. So here, this is Dendrogrammus toxi, which is good for tropical climate. And all that you are seeing growth in Sindhudurg of this raw material is by vegetative propagation.
But where is it from there?
Yeah, it's from the region. It's a tropical plant. Not really. It is very good for furniture, in fact. So the furniture, the material requirement is where you have the wall thickness to the diameter ratio. If it is good, then there will be more durability in the furniture. Also, it will have ability to bend and remain. So this particular species is very suitable for that. So in India, there are 16 species which have been rated as species for commercial importance by National Mission of Bamboo Application, so NMBA. So this is similar to that particular species. Collaboration. She pushed. I was not wanting to do this project. I said people just talk about it. People don't have an appetite for doing something like this. It has not happened in the country before. And people love to talk, they love to clap, they love to say shabash, but they are not willing to pay for it. And they don't have the appetite for it. She said, "Aapko kya karna hai, aap karo na karna hai." I was like trying all my way to, tell her it is in a nice way to say nahi karna hai. So I think, end of it, we are passion people. We are not entrepreneurs in that sense. So our bottom line, of course, would be that it has to be sustainable. I mean, economically sustainable. But deep behind, if there's an impact getting created, we are more than happy to stretch over that. So that's who we are. So when I saw that there was, a level of consistency and persistence, then I said, if she's willing to walk one step, I will walk two, but ended up walking 10. That's a different thing. So we walked along the journey. But we said, yeah, let's support someone who's trying to do something, pioneering this space. And let's see how to make that happen.
Oh, he came very highly recommended. He came very highly recommended, and then once you meet somebody, you have a connect, and yeah, there was never a no from him for anything. So I think that started the journey. No.
Yep.
On the 6 months here, no?
Yeah, yes.
6 months, but before that, maybe a good 6 months of work. Because like he taught me that bamboo can only be harvested after the rains. Because you can harvest it and then you can cure it. You can't cure it during the rains. So it also matters at which point in time you start this conversation and he gets to procure his material and all of that.
Predominantly 95% of our work is for constructions. So what you see here, in similar frame, when I say frame means exposed to atmospheric conditions without, or vividly exposed to atmospheric conditions, we have done in Maldives for a resort called Wardrop Astoria. Similar kind of bamboo. So, and similar bent, here of course the bend goes 3-directional. So X, Y and also Z direction, and there it goes in X and Y direction then. So, and that project also had won, 3 international awards, including being rated as one of the most beautiful restaurants in the world by CNN UK, Forbes Asia, etc. So this is more challenging, that I should tell you. It's a design. It's an architectural masterpiece, I would say. Very difficult to detail because of X, Y, and Z direction, and structurally also very difficult to design. Because at the end of it, as engineers, we are used to arches and columns and beams and distribution of load. Here it is like a spider's web. The whole distribution, the web itself becomes a holistic whole to distribute the load. So more challenging. So that's what it was.
So for me, I think until I went to that bamboo school, I never thought of the material as something I was comfortable to work with. But once I was exposed to it, it's like any of us, right? Once you're exposed to something, then you start plugging it in. It's subconsciously working in your head, and you want to know where you can use it and how you can use it. Then you make it happen. Up until that point, you're like, okay, bamboo, it exists, but I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to go touch it. And so it was just the exposure to how it is possible to work with that brought me nearer to the material. No, so see, all that I defaulted to him. But like I said earlier, I think our biggest challenge, maybe Krunal will say there's some other challenge, but for me, I think the biggest challenge was not knowing the strengths of bamboo. So he and I had to constantly do these experiments for the structural engineer. And like he used to keep saying, I'm not a laboratory, I can't do these tests. So for me, I think just getting to convince him to do it and having that guy reduce the number of tests that he was demanding was the balancing act and the challenge of one of the challenges of this project. So what about you?
And we both had a soft corner for Appu, so it
Yeah, so I was like the mediator between these two boys.
that was challenge. See, there's the code of structural design using bamboo. We are right now redrafting the code. I mean, we meaning the country is redrafting. I am also one of the people sitting on that panel. But when we look at, so there is, like you have an IS code 456 for concrete. You give it to a junior engineer, he would have fair understanding of what input data to put in, what an expected output data would be. In bamboo, it's not so, because there's lot of evolvement still happening in that field. And because bamboo, unlike steel pipe, if you say NB32, you expect a 32 diameter throughout. When you say bamboo 40 means that 50 at bottom and 35 at top. A wall thickness of 10-12 at the bottom and 5 at top. Now, how do you define it to a way where a structural engineer can take a certain input and be confident about it, right? So that's the basic challenge. Now the code prescribed certain values, but a structural designer wanted a re-verification or revalidation of it. And that's where we had to do multiple tests in our factory and establish what is called as a characteristic strength. So what an average strength ought to be, that material. This was, of course, a big challenge. Other is bending. Bending of bamboo in 3 directions is very, very tedious affair. Very time consuming, in fact. And you need a certain skill and patience. Someone who loves his work can do that work, otherwise they'll run away. So you need to, keep on nurturing that talent properly. So bending it in that shape, getting the strength and the figures right, I think were the 2 challenges. Otherwise, we had a lot of support. We were given quite a lot of encouragement, saying, it's okay, karte hain, chalo, let's make it happen. Ashoka University, I would say, is an exceptional place. Someone asked, why Ashoka? I would say, why not Ashoka? I mean, I'm very happy to do something of this kind of pioneering work in a university which itself, encourages this kind of an open-ended thinking. I'm happy that I think it did the right thing with the right people at the right place. And hopefully it ends up inspiring a lot of, the new generations who love it for what it is and inspired to look at, more and more nature-based solutions to the current issue of climate change.
Anything is possible. When I started it, I didn't think it was possible. The sketch that I made, when I first took it to him, he said it himself. He looked at it and he said, why don't we regularize it a little bit? Instead of this thing bending in 3 directions, make it in 2, because I've done that before and, that is possible. Then I was really adamant that I didn't want to change it. And so then that's when I reached out to Neil, who sits in London. And Neil said, okay, chalo, let's make it happen. I'll help you out. And so and then of course, once we started, it really wasn't an easy journey. Ashoka was extremely supportive, but between the tree canopies, the foundation below, this being so remote, I'm sitting in Bombay, he's sitting in London, this guy's sitting in Goa, also traveling all over the place. It was very difficult to every time to monitor some problem that was happening on site, So yes, the fact that it has actually come this far and we're standing here talking to you guys itself just completely, makes me believe that if you set out to do something and you're determined to do it, you can really make it happen. This is it's a 3-directional bend. I know. He said that Astoria hotel that he's done in the Maldives, right? That is the 2-directional bend. But the 2-directional bend is also a very structured bend. It's like a semicircle. That's very different from this. This is parametric. This is all directions. Yeah, how can you ask an artist, why did you paint blue instead of green? You can't. So it's what the pencil drew, and then that's how anything starts, right? I said, okay, now this looks really lovely. Can I make it happen? I taught in a school for a little while, and during COVID, and the first thing I used to tell the kids was that just take a paper, crush it and throw it, and then look at what the possibilities can be. Because today, at least we used to sketch, but today's kids work on computers, and and then you end up drawing just as much as the computer to give you that, so literally you draw what you know. And so that's what I used to say, just crush the paper, chuck it, look at it, and see if can you make something out of it. I mean, for me, like I said, it's a learning curve, huge learning curve. And he already was very experienced in this. For me, it's a new line of thinking. And like your mind opens up, right? The minute you know that there is a possibility, you'll start plugging it in the future. So I will start trying to plug in bamboo as much as I can.
See, I think we help raise the bar in bamboo construction when we did the wardrobe estuary project. There wasn't anything that was built like that before. Yeah? It was our first international project. We were just a 1.5-year-old company. Not that we are great, We had great hunger for and a big appetite to be things. But, having proven that was the first of it there. Second time we raised the bar, I feel, through the work was that it is the largest cluster of bamboo structures for a research and development institute in Chandrapur, where we use 200 than bamboo. So that's the largest in Asia. This I feel will raise the bar as far as the potential of bamboo to be able to live up to a design solution, a designer solution. So there isn't anything built something like this, and last few days. So I also actually, although we did a small mock-up in factory, when the scaffolding was removed, that's when, I also took a little heave of release, saying, ke, ha, abhi khada reh raha, I mean, all that calculations is fine, all that experience is fine, but ultimately, when the rubber hits the road, then only, the devil is in that detail. So I think the last few days have been, the kind of comments here received from people all across the world, and the appreciation that they are saying about it being a work of art itself. It talks about the use of natural materials not only for some third category use, but at a very contemporary world class level and, performance. So I think, it would inspire a whole lot of stakeholders, designers, clients, students, people are working in the field. I think it helps raise a bar, of Indian bamboo, Indian skill, being able to develop something like this. And India is not a country known for its bamboo stuff. Bali is, for example, Vietnam is, China is. But you being able to do something which is even pioneering for them itself speaks volumes of the capabilities that we have within our own country. So I think that's how we